All right, welcome back everybody to another video. This is going to be a little bit different look than what we normally do with the show. Today I'm joined by Gaby Matos and Isabella Tirado from Slate Social, and we're going to actually be jumping in and breaking down some of these things that we talk about so much on the show. From AI to digital marketing to social media to paid media. We get into a lot of different things on the show and get a lot of great advice from these professionals. But now we're going to be talking with some people who are in the trenches, doing the work day to day, on how you can actually go ahead and take those insights and advice and use them to actually move yourself forward in your career or your side business, whatever it may be. To give you guys a little bit of background, Gaby and Isabella both are, or Isabella is working with Gaby on Slate Social, their own social media marketing agency that they founded as seniors at Michigan State. Since then, they've scaled it quite a bit, and it's kind of their full-time thing that they're working on right now. So it's pretty crazy how something you can start on the side in college can kind of turn into your full-time job right after, and next thing you know, you got a bunch of clients and everything. But I'll kind of let them explain a little bit more what they do. You guys already know what I do. I'm Broxton Davis, performance media analyst at a large advertising agency, as well as obviously the host of the BroxtenDigital show. But what's up, Gaby and Isabella? I'd love for you guys to kind of self-introduce a little bit too, let everybody know what you're all about.
Hi, Broxton. Thank you so much for having us. My name's Gaby. I founded Slate Social June 10th of last year, so we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary of running Slate. I am Ann Arbor born and raised. I love living in Michigan, and it's been pretty crazy road to where we are now, but wouldn't have traded it for the world. I just graduated Michigan State last month, so earned my bachelor's in marketing and minored in entrepreneurship and innovation. But yeah, it's a little bit about me.
And my name is Isabella Tirado, and I also just graduated from Michigan State with a double major in advertising management and advertising creative, and then minors in entrepreneurship and business. And I actually, funny enough, met Gaby in an entrepreneurship class, and we were partnered together for a partner project. And then right at the last day, right before winter break, we just got to talking, and she was like, "Do you do any editing work?" And I was like, "I kind of do, yeah, because of my major, mainly the creative advertising side." And she mentioned like, "Oh, I actually own a business and I'm looking for some help." And I immediately was like, "Oh, this is perfect and like totally up my avenue." And I was really interested also in the entrepreneurial space, and it was a huge interest of mine, so it kind of felt very aligned to have met with Gaby right at that time and had that conversation that we did. And she just kind of provided a little opportunity, and I really jumped on it, and I'm really glad I did. It has been a really awesome experience to work with her and see firsthand a very entrepreneurial journey that one can take.
That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, it's always great to see Spartan grads out there doing awesome stuff in the industry. It also just goes to show, there's so many different routes you could take. Just between all three of us here, all having our own unique experience and pretty much totally different experience since graduating college. I graduated 2 years ago and have kind of been agency side since then. And, I've really got into kind of the content creating space. So many things out there, but one of the big things that I think we talk about a lot about on the show is putting yourself out there and growing your network. And like, I just think you two are such great examples of that. Like, your story, Isabella, of kind of how you fell into even working with Gaby, is totally, if you wouldn't have put yourself out there, it probably would have never even happened. So I think it's a great first point of like, just putting yourself out there and being somebody who's willing to help is going to open up opportunities. And next thing you know, you're talking on a podcast with people making content. It's super cool kind of how it turns into that pretty quickly. But anyways, so to kind of break things down, this is just going to be like a little mini series that we do. We're going to have some different episodes releasing where we'll cover just some of the main takeaways, topics, things that get discussed a lot on my show that we thought were really important, and something that we also feel like we've kind of gained an understanding on by talking to these professionals and working out in the field like we do on the day-to-day basis, and just trying to break it down and demystify in a way that all the viewers here can, like I said earlier, just go ahead and use this to actually, make actionable changes in their career and day-to-day lives. So with that, guys, our topic for episode one is pretty cool. It's something we both probably hear about and work with all day, every day. Is kind of just going to be diving into AI, social media, how you can leverage both to kind of build your brand, where maybe the roadblocks are and where you should, pump the brakes, I know you guys work with a lot of social media and a lot of organic social, and there is a ton of mixed opinions on should you be using AI at all? Should AI just totally not be part of your workflow if you're making creative work? So to kind of get started, I just was curious, over at Slate Social, what are you guys utilizing as far as your AI tools, and how are you using them?
As far as AI goes, I think personally it should be implemented into your business. Um, if you don't use it when everybody else is, that puts you at almost a disadvantage for not, understanding how that technology works and what you can do with it. Um, Personally, here at Slate Social, we use Claude, ChatGPT, um, Higgsfield AI, a whole bunch of things. Sometimes it's, asking it to make a logo clearer that is already in a photo. Maybe we need to put a logo on something. Like, we don't use it to create fake content. I think that's where there's like a huge misconception with the use of AI in social media, because people do generate fake images and make it look like something it's not. But we tailor it to our clients. So, as long as we can make the photo that we took better or more clear or aligning more cohesively to the brand, we will do that. Um, as for other tools, I really, really like Claude. I'm like a huge Claude fan. I've definitely strayed away from ChatGPT since Claude came out, but just being able to expand on like skills or these tools that are given to you, and like when you learn how to use them, I think you can become more efficient. So I was just telling Bella, like, every morning I will go on Claude and I will have it read my email, and it tells me like, okay, here are the most important emails you need to respond to. Here are your like spam, or here are your, promotions, whatever. And that way, like, it cuts out half the time in my day having to sort through my email and find, clients to respond to, with all the other junk in there. But then on the other hand, Claude can provide coding. So we were able to build out an entire app for our content calendar. That way everybody on our team can see what kind of is the, plan for the month. But yeah, that's what I would say our most used AI is for.
No, that's awesome. And I think it goes to show, like, kind of what you said at the beginning of, like, you're using it to move the needle and get jobs done, but not using it to create net new things. Or, one of your clients' brand is not totally built around AI generated assets, but things that you would have to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes doing that really aren't moving the needle or probably driving revenue for your business. Like, let's say putting a logo on, a print design or something, when you can whip it up in 10 seconds, that's a game changer. And I think, like, there's a ton of students and young professionals right now who are hearing either one extreme or the other when they go on LinkedIn or when they look at articles. It's, a ton of creatives saying, if you use AI, you're part of the problem. You're ruining human creativity. Brands who do this are going to be sorry for it later. And then, there's super AI fluent native people. Like, I mean, it even sounds like y'all are, even though you're not using it to do everything, you've found the ways that you can use it to move the needle. And I think like that needs to be the main takeaway for young professionals and students right now is you're not going to get turned away from an opportunity or have less of an opportunity because you're using AI. I think that is like something that just needs to be said because there's a good amount of people that are out there saying don't use AI at all. I think that's totally wrong. But I think to take it a step further, especially when you're talking to a recruiter or talking to somebody who might be a potential client, when you can talk about actual use cases like Gaby and Isabella have here, where they're actually using it to move the needle while not, inflicting on any of their clients' content or having any of the negative things that you typically see with AI come about. I just think that's awesome. And if, that's something you can speak to in an interview or, a client call, it's going to be something that makes you stand out, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also it's interesting with the moving the needle perspective that at least I personally use it a lot when I have a lot of thoughts, and maybe with being in a creative field, there's a lot of perspectives and a lot of different ways that you can communicate one message, which is like the message at the time that you're focused on communicating. So it's nice to use AI in a sense to kind of organize all those thoughts. If I have an idea for a certain thing and I'm excited by the idea, which makes me think, okay, this is like an idea I definitely want to bring to light in some form of media, that it helps me organize my thoughts and how can I best communicate that message in the most clear and like digestible way to the audience. So I really like using it for that perspective as well.
No, that is another great use case. Like I brain dump into Claude all the time when I have a bunch of stuff going on and I'm feeling like anxious or overwhelmed and I like feel like I can't get anything done. I'll just brain dump into Claude and be like, now let's go about getting this stuff done, and usually goes pretty smoothly from my experience. But no, those are like some awesome use cases, and I think like those are things that the people listening can literally like sign up for a $20 subscription of Claude Code and start messing around with the stuff we're talking about right now. It's a game changer. Like having something that can break down your inbox for you, that's something I've also recently done for myself. Is like I would spend probably 20, 30, up to even an hour in your email, digging through emails, writing responses, trying to like pin stuff to get organization in your inbox. Having that, at a glance every morning is pretty awesome. So just finding ways to, even if, you're super anti-AI and don't want any AI generated content, find some cool ways to make your life a little easier. You'll have some more time to spend with your family or do stuff you enjoy is kind of how I try to look at it as well.
Yeah.
I did want to get into, so like from the performance media standpoint, it's a little bit different, I think, too. If, you're somebody who's listening to this and interested in social media, I think what Gabby and Isabella are doing is like kind of the bread and butter of what you should be doing with AI if you're working in social media. Like you're going to get a lot of flack if you're just sending AI generated social media content out all the time. It's pretty easy to catch. Where in the performance media world, I think you can definitely leverage the tools a lot more because so much happens under the hood. With that though, like, I'm an analyst in performance media, which means I do a lot of digging into data, breaking it down, making it make sense, finding ways to communicate it to the client. With that though, like AI is definitely starting to be able to do all of that. I know like even in practice at work, I'm able to upload a bulk sheet of data and pretty much have it break everything down that I would spend hours, just looking at it, combing through it. I can kind of get that done in, maybe 10, 15 minutes and start writing my insights based off of that. So finding ways like that too to really, I would say, just take any process that you're spending a lot of time on, especially if it involves any type of digital file or you on a computer. There's a good chance you could probably start having some kind of AI model do it, no matter what realm of marketing you're in. I'm sure these use cases carry over to print, performance. You guys are organic, SEO. Even like client experience and account management, finding ways to use these tools to make your client experience better, I think is only going to move you ahead. I guess one thing I did want to talk about is just like there's clearly obviously some risks too involved with like using AI. Like you guys mentioned building an app, and there's obviously security risks that come with that. You're sharing credentials, you're sharing possibly API keys when you're building stuff out and trying to make automations. I guess like we can get into some of the stuff I've done, but I'm curious what you guys have done too to just make sure you're kind of on top of that, and just obviously with all of your clients you have to maintain the digital security. Just what have you guys done to be on top of that, and what would you recommend to somebody who maybe is starting to, build some new stuff with Claude and start automating some of their stuff more frequently?
I mean, definitely do your research. That's like the biggest thing I could say. And that could be asking Claude, hey, how can I make this secure? What app can I use? How can I code this to make sure that, data isn't leaking out into the world? For us, the most part, right now, like the app that we've built out, it's very like basic minimum. Like there isn't really much data in there. Our clients cannot access it. It's just our team. So with that being said, it's not like a login situation. It's just, a database that is interactive. So, we have security on it, but not like, secure.
No, I know
Uh,
what you mean, but there was clearly like a strategy put in before
yeah.
like rolling this thing out. And I think like obviously you guys put guardrails up with like we're not just going to let the clients jump into this right away because who knows what could possibly go wrong. And those are the questions you have to ask yourself, I think, and maybe take that extra 10, 15, 20 minutes even to just go ahead and do some research, maybe on your own outside of AI on, what are the risk factors here? How can I make sure I'm doing this in a safe way? Just because that's another thing I see a lot is just a lot of people saying, if you're pushing stuff out to the public or, using it in practice with real customer data, there's a lot of risks there. So it's cool to hear that you guys have that layer of security added in though. And I think like for anybody who is, looking to found an agency or start doing some work on the side, use these AI tools, but use them in a smart way.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
but yeah, I think that kind of wraps up what I wanted to go over for kind of our AI and digital marketing set. I know to kind of just recap, we just really went over figuring out what kind of tools you can implement in your day-to-day. I know for us, obviously, I think all three of us would highly recommend Claude Code based off what we chatted about. And yeah, just finding ways to automate where you're not putting a negative infliction on your brand, your content, anything like that, but still finding ways to automate. And there is ways. Like if you can't think of any ways, hop on Claude and say, hey, help me come up with 10 ways I can automate my side business without using you to create any content. And I'm sure you'd be surprised. And then we also kind of chatted about just, how you can take it a step further and use AI to start building internal tools and start to, really make your client experience as good as possible. And then from a paid lens, using it to kind of take your analyst work and take things that took days, weeks, maybe even months to do a data analysis and come up with reporting and, be able to do the things you're trying to accomplish in a fraction of the time. To just then kind of round out on the security aspect of building with AI and using these tools. Be smart and do your research, I would say. Is there anything else you guys want to leave the audience with? Just, if there was one thing Slate Social would say as far as AI and digital marketing, what would it be in 2026?
I feel like we would just say always keep your brand's intention and the projection of the vision you want for that brand at the forefront of your mind. Use the tools to help you, but still always value that human touch that is always going to be priceless when collaborating with AI. So let it help you, but don't necessarily let it do all the work for you.
Authenticity.
Yeah, authenticity at the forefront always.
Exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Maintain that authenticity, but at the same time, if you're not using these tools, you're definitely falling behind and just other people will be able to outwork you. It's as simple as that. So I think that kind of wraps us for episode 1 of our mini series. I'm, super excited to kind of get into the rest of these. We have some awesome topics we're going to chat about. And I hope, everybody listening out there had some great takeaways and, can take this advice and go ahead and start using it in their day to day. It is the summer now, so kind of a great time to start to focus on some of these skills that maybe you don't get time to work on during the busy part of the year, especially for those of you who just graduated. Start taking these takeaways, and I think you're really going to see some help and boost as far as, your job hunt and, if you're looking to get something going on the side. This is the kind of stuff that took us years to kind of figure out. So, take it and use it. That's what we're putting it out there for. But with that, that kind of wraps episode 1, and we will see you guys in episode 2.